Hi, it's your girl, V. Yeah, I'm gonna do an energy update about the sun sextiling Uranus that's happening today-ish. The exact aspect is at 0 degrees, and that's at 21:12 Greenwich Mean Time, which GMT, if you're on the east coast of the United States, that would be 1 a.m. on the 26th. Yeah, it'd be 1 a.m. on the 26th and 4 a.m. on the west coast. So, yeah, we did the math wrong. Wait, it's 3 hours, right? Yeah, it's 3 hours. So I'm going to be talking about the sun sextiling Uranus. It starts tomorrow, but right now we are at an applying angle, which means that it's coming up on being sextile today. And if you're in the UK at 9, it's going to be sextile. But yeah, you can do this, what I'm about to advise, you can do this today and or tomorrow. And so y'all know it's Instagram Live. I can't share my screen and show you what I'm seeing on the chart, but I'm going to talk about it and explain a little bit, and then I'm going to explain what it means. So if you subscribe to Patreon and you subscribe to the moon tier or higher, you get access to the moon videos, and I made the full moon video. It's already downloading, and it's going to be uploaded to Patreon probably by the end of the evening. So I will have I have the chart, and I show everything that's in the chart in the Patreon videos, because I'm capable of doing that on Patreon, because I use Zoom and I share my screen and I share the chart and I show you all. So if you are interested in in-depth insights, especially if you are interested in actually learning to understand astrology, then this is something that I would really recommend to you, is subscribing to the Patreon, because I am not going to be doing the same kinds of videos that I used to do on here. This energy update is for the sun sextiling Uranus, which is an advanced transit. However, because it's not like a retrograde or something like that, there's also a tier for that on Patreon. But anyway, so this is an energy update. I'm going to explain to you about the energy that we're interacting with here, because it's actually really, really important. It's actually foundational to what we're about to be interacting with and moving forward. So now that we have this full moon coming up, and this is so the Lunar New Year was the start of the Lunar New Year with the new moon in Aquarius. That's the start of this new emotional landscape in the internal realms, essentially. And the internal is where it starts out. As we know, the physical, the tangible, the temporal is the final frontier of manifestation. If it doesn't exist in the unseen realms, it doesn't exist in the seen realms. And everything exists in the unseen realms. It's really just about putting it together. That's part of what processing is. But so yeah, with this full moon that we're coming up on in Virgo, this is cleansing, it is clarifying all of that shadow work that we've been doing. And I actually had a vision of with Pisces season being about osmosis, and this is in the Pisces season video, which is on Patreon if you subscribe to just the page tier, which is $7.77 a month. That video is on there, but I had this vision of like, I talk about osmosis, and I had this vision of like this gelatinous substance, essentially, that Piscean matrix, like, and I compare it to like an ex machina, the brain that he makes for his AI, which is like this gelatinous fluid, water, like amniotic sac-ish sort of stuff. Like it's a brain, but brains are not all water. They are other stuff too, including matter, but essentially it's just this like gelatinous fluid that is the matrix, the true matrix, not the false matrix, that electrodes and electrical impulses can go through to fire off these synapses and like think thoughts, you know, and that's that 𝗪ciecie𝗸𝗺 energy there that I talked more about in the Virgo full moon video. And so what happens, what I saw in this vision was like dimensions, and we're in the like 3D, then the 4D, then the 5D, and going from 3D into the 4D, like, and going from 4D into the 5D, this gelatinous substance, which is us. It's like our spirit, our mind, our, like, you know, essence, essentially, ascending through these, and all of the spiritual detritus that cannot exist in the higher dimensions, like, is sloughed off and it stays down in the lower dimensions. As we ascend higher and higher, and we get lighter and lighter because of that. And I don't mean, and obviously I mean in mass, but like we get lighter and lighter, and there's like less heaviness as we ascend into these higher realms of consciousness, but also higher dimensions. And that's what we're talking about when we get to the light realms. And there are realms that are said to be like so high dimensional that like the entities are not solid and they're just made of light. You can look into that on your own, but that is essentially like when you get to the light realms, it's because we have transcended matter and all of what comes with matter, which is karma. And when if you are an ethereal being, if you are somebody who has descended from higher dimensions to exist here in this corporeal existence in this realm, essentially you've descended down the mortal coil and tacked on mass, because you had to get denser to exist in a very dense realm, 3D, and you accrued karma through doing that. And we've been working that karma off. And so when we're talking about the 5D, people are like, doesn't look any different. No, because it's a consciousness shift. And existing there, we have to be grounded upon a foundation of the 4D. The fourth dimension is time. The fourth dimension is it's time, and time is our master when we live in these physical bodies, because like we can't escape death, just is what it is. But we can overcome the perils of time in understanding that beyond our physical bodies we are infinite. We are spirit, we are life eternal. Life never stops. The universe is expanding. Okay? I don't know what people think, like, oh, the sun is gonna explode. Okay, life is not gonna stop just because our sun explodes. There's nothing particularly interesting about our star, by the way. It's actually medium-sized. It's not even that close to the center of the galaxy. It's not that interesting of a star. So, you know, big deal. our little human puny conception of what life is and what existence is does not really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. It is not the end all be all. It is infinitesimal. So what I would encourage is developing a cosmological perspective. When I was studying sociology, which is actually one of my minors, we talk about developing a sociological perspective. And when you have a sociological perspective, it allows you to stand outside of society and observe it, hopefully with an as objective lens as you are capable of doing. So you're no longer in that loop, you're no longer in that structure. You exist on the outside. You're not above it, you're not below it, because you'd still be in that structure if that were the case. You exist from the outside. You can see it's not a loop, it's actually a helix because of time. We had to get here somehow, and that's when it becomes a helix. And that's what we have to do with our cosmological understanding. And I think for me, that understanding has given me the basis to understand like life is so big and also at the same time so small, so broad, and so minute. Both things are true at once. And in order to really have that 5D consciousness, there is the requisite of understanding that multiple things can be true at once. However that looks like you can achieve that, like there just has to be an understanding of the universe and how the universe operates for us as human beings. That is one of my conceptions of God or of a higher power, is the universe. And I'm a part of that. And these are things that are coming, I'm channeling right now. So I know that I'm supposed to, like, I am essentially talking about the sun sextile in Uranus. For me, this understanding that I've come into, this concept that I've come into through theoretical knowledge, through research, through science, and also spirituality, because I have been practicing magic my entire life. I come from, I'm not the first, we'll put it that way. These things have been able to liberate me from the confines of the social structure in which we live. And that has everything to do with Uranus, because Uranus is about rebellion, it's about revolution. But when we come back to the word revolution, it's about revolving. And yes, we can choose to stay in that cycle, on that axis of that revolution, as with the spinning planet, or we can choose to transcend. And then we shift timelines, we shift upwards. That's what we're doing when we're breaking generational curses. And yeah, that's what I'd say about that, because this transit with the sun sextiling Uranus is the light codes are being activated here, and that information is being transmitted here, and in a very liberating way, because it's obviously the sun and Uranus, and the sun is about our creative power. It's about what we're able to cultivate, more than even just manifestation. You can manifest something, but can you keep it alive? Can you help it to grow? If you can't grow, if you don't feel like your life is worth living, then I don't think that you probably you're not capable of doing that. And you've got some shadow work to do. I am not great with plant care. I have not traditionally been great with plant care, I should say. And that is because I had a terrible relationship with my body. And if you have a bad relationship with your body, you're probably not going to be that great at having a relationship with the earth, as your body is a byproduct of the earth. We are earthlings. We only exist because of earth. That's something that we've been made to forget. That's some of that generational trauma. We think about slaves. Black people who are descended from slavery, or people of African descent whose ancestors were enslaved by colonizers and forced to do labor have trauma in their bodies. All colonized people have trauma in their bodies because the colonizers purposely traumatized our ancestors so that we would be in the state that we're in today. Sick, suffering, emotionally ill. What was one of the first things that they did to us? Rob us of our spiritual practices, rob us of our faiths, and replace it with their own so that we wouldn't be able to connect with spirit. We wouldn't be able to be empowered within ourselves. Because most indigenous practices, and I don't mean indigenous American, no, I mean indigenous to all regions of this planet, are grounded in our relationship with earth, are grounded in understanding that we have divine power within us. I'm just putting my incense in its holder. So that separation from self, that separation from our ancestors, that separation from higher power, from spirit, from source. Think about it, if you're separated from source, of course you're going to live a life of lack, of poverty, of despair, of scarcity, all of that. That is not by accident. And that is some of the generational trauma. These are some of the generational curses. But they stand to be broken. Uranus has been in Taurus, and don't we see it all around us? What happened, what characterized last year, other than a global pandemic in America, and actually all over the world, mass civil unrest. Even prior to 2020, there was mass civil unrest. Yeah, Uranus is definitely in Taurus. And I talked about this when I pulled the Capricorn chart, because I'm pretty sure that Capricorn season in 2019 is around when Uranus was really hitting its stride with Taurus. We also have Fortuna here. We have Dark Moon Lilith here. We have Mars here. Mars is making a sextile to, Mars is making a trine to Pluto, which is in Capricorn, but it's also in the 4th house. This is very empowering, especially because Mars is in the 8th house. This is extremely empowering because these both have to do with our center of will, as well as our root chakra. So what is my recommendation with this root chakra energy? Today, with the Sun sextiling Uranus, as I said, this is important because it is the foundation for the landscape of change that we are reigning in and building from with this ascension that we've been experiencing, specifically since the winter solstice. Dark night of the soul is ending with this full moon. It's touching ground with this full moon. Sow the seeds you want to sow, and you're sowing them in this ground, and it's imperative to understand that what has passed, and we do have the agency, we do have the power to shift it. And we've seen the ways in which we've disempowered ourselves. We've seen the ways in which we have kept ourselves from being able to feel at one with our experiences, feel in harmony with our experiences. We've seen that because that's what we've been being faced with for the past few months, and collectively for the past few years. It's been inescapable. So absorbing this information, absorbing what is on offer here as this cosmic gift, especially leading up to the equinox next month. I would recommend sunbathing. I would recommend root chakra release rituals, which is why I recommend root chakra release rituals. As I said, we have Pluto in Capricorn at 25 degrees and 26 seconds at the start of the 4th house. Pluto working in tandem with this Uranus energy, they're both about release. They're both about expulsion. Pluto's more about expelling old ways of being, where Uranus is about expelling old structures. And we're going to really see the difference when Pluto goes into Aquarius next year. But for our purposes, let's stay on what Pluto's doing right now. We're getting rid of those old ways of being. That's what Pluto in Capricorn in the 4th house, what we've picked up from the home. That indoctrination, that was the foundation of who we are. We have a new foundation. As I said, that 4th dimension, understanding integrity is more important than looking cool. Understanding, honoring yourself, your sacred self, is more important than honoring structures of destruction. Understanding that the collective well-being is more important than your immediate pleasure in the here and now, because you are a part of the collective. That's what's on offer with this Uranus. And when you stand on that foundation and those spiritual axioms, and you accept that, and you move from that place, life gets a whole lot better, not just for you, but for everyone. Because as long as one of us is suffering, we all suffer. And that's what I mean when I say that, yes, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, people who have white privilege suffer too. As long as we are separated, we are suffering. As long as we are separated, we are in peril. And until we can transcend these structures of destruction that seek to keep us apart, we cannot come together, because they are doing a damn good job. And society, yes, is falling apart because it was never together to begin with. Until you can transcend spiritualism, until you can transcend white supremacy and racism, until you can transcend cis-hetero patriarchy, until you can transcend capitalism and industrialism, you will not be free. And the sun has something to say about that, as it makes a sextile to Uranus in Taurus. The changes that we make while Mars is in Taurus now are going to radically impact our life. So I certainly hope that you've been careful with your actions, mindful with your actions, loving with your actions. Stepping into that power of Neptune being in Pisces, the sun being in Pisces, and now Venus exalted in Pisces. And they are making a sextile, they're making a trine. What? They're making a trine to Uranus. Let me just check something. Mars is trining Pluto here. I'm looking at the wrong thing. The sun is sextiling Uranus. I was so confused just now. But yes, Venus is impacted by that. And Uranus is also making a square to Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury in the 4th house. And you're in Aquarius, and it's like, okay, I don't like, it's hard to process, and it's hard to have faith in living a different type of life when you've been taught one thing. But when you've been taught something that's horrible, and you don't want that, and you know that it doesn't work, honestly, try absolutely anything. And yes, the very opposite of that thing. And just see how big of a change it makes. To be empowered in that now, because we have the full moon coming up, and the moon is actually in opposition to very specifically Mercury and Jupiter. The moon is in Leo. So much feels like it's at stake. Because there's contention with this new way of being when it comes to honoring yourself. It's like, oh, if I tell this person this thing, then they're not going to want to be with me anymore. Good, then. Like, if they don't want to be with you, they're not for you. And we choose what is for us in this new paradigm. Don't communicate from fear. Communicate from faith. Communicate with love. Communicate with vulnerability. Lead from that place as the moon is in Leo. It's in the 10th house. So it's about the legacy that you leave on the world. Do you want to be known as a curmudgeon, a crotchety a-hole? Or do you want to be known as somebody who was loving and received a lot of love? When we deal with the 10th house, when we deal with Capricorn, when we deal with Saturn, we need to think about our legacy. That's what this is really about. It's not so much about our career. It's about what we contribute to the world. So yes, it really does have everything to do with the 5th house. What do we contribute to the world? What is the mark that we leave on the world? If the mark that we leave on the world is shitty, then you're gonna feel shitty. If it's fake, you're gonna feel like an imposter. If it's not fulfilling to you, if it's not true to you, you're gonna feel like a phony. And that's on you. As I said, Pluto is trining Mars and Taurus exactly at 8 degrees on the 8th house at 26 degrees. So this is extremely powerful in regards to reclamation of agency. And it may feel counterintuitive to everything we thought we wanted, especially with Venus and Pisces. But we know now that what we thought we wanted is wrong because our thinking is fucked up. Because mentally, the mental matrix, that's the false matrix I keep talking about. The mental matrix that we've been indoctrinated into is not at all, it is directly oppositional to the actual matrix that we exist within. And you have to transcend that, and we do that through our actions. This goes back to the full moon in Leo in Aquarius season 2 seasons ago, the last season that we were in, so the last full moon. Because it really has to do with dimming your light or allowing others to dim your light. Matthew 5:14-16, New International Version, edited to reflect our framework, because I'm not a religious person, and yes, it's edited to reflect a non-binary, non-gendered, more equitable and ethical framework. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your divinity in all realms. Back with the full moon in Leo, And remember, we got this 5th house energy going on with Venus, the Sun, and Neptune, all in Pisces, all in the 5th house. Boom, right? Like, what am I talking about? The moon in Leo right now. This is a culmination of those lessons that we were coming into, and why Aquarius season was so damn uncomfortable. Because how have we been dimming our light? Through our actions, through our words, through our thoughts. We've been super aware of that. And it's something that we can tend to feel a little bit ashamed about. Don't feel ashamed. Okay, it's not what we want to do anymore. It served us for however long it served us. It doesn't serve us anymore. Let it go, Pluto in Capricorn in the 4th house. Let it go. Don't move forward with that energy. Mars in the 8th house in Taurus. We're doing a new thing. Uranus in the 7th house with Lilith and Fortuna in Taurus. Sextiling what? The Sun. Conjunct Venus. We're about to get everything that we ever dreamed of. Now, don't ruin it by doing the same shit. Don't ruin it by staying low vibrational, not stepping into your abundance, stepping into your prosperity. Don't ruin it. Back then in Aquarius season, the timelines were splitting. Now they're fully divested. This is what's happening. This full divestation and the integration into higher vibrational matrices is becoming clear. Now you make that choice, because you're either you're gonna let go or you're gonna be dragged. We are letting go of those energies and entities. And soon everything around you is going to vibrate at that same frequency as things fall away. It may be uncomfortable, but it's just a factor of what it is. So I would recommend going back to the full moon in Leo insights, because they're very present now, especially as the moon is back in Leo for the first time since then. And if you subscribe to the Patreon, you can do that. If you don't, I know what to tell you. Just stay the course. Yes, it is disquieting and it is uncomfortable, but it is also delicious and delightful. And I'm sure that y'all are feeling this. Like, if you can actually channel some gratitude and some humility, you will understand how that pain is leading you to a space of divine ecstasy. Stay the course. I feel that when Mars enters Gemini on the 4th of March at 3:30 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, things will progress lightning quick, and all the communication coming together of pieces is going to happen here. And so with that is leading up to, okay, Mercury's gonna, I said Mars, right? Mars is in Gemini on the 4th, and then 16 days later is the spring equinox on the 20th. That is the weekend that we will be doing the 3-day virtual retreat for clarity by me, V, for the equinox. More information is going to be coming out about that at the beginning of this coming week, and you're going to be able to purchase tickets and all of that stuff. Super excited. It's going to be amazing. But yeah, so leading up to the equinox, we're gonna, like, things are gonna be happening lightning quick, and you're going to want to move mindfully and gracefully and with ease, and you really will be aided in being able to do that by really tuning into this energy that's on offer today, and really using it for your benefit. So go out, get some sun if you can. If you can't, I mean, I'm in LA. So I'm gonna go get some sun. But for those of you who cannot, find a sun-facing window and just lay under the window and let it charge your cells. Drink lots of water, Drink lots of water because this is a really fiery time of rebirth and renewal. And yeah, root chakra release rituals. That's it. I love you all truly and deeply. If you like this video, which I'm obviously saving to IGTV, please like, comment, follow, share. I have a YouTube, the link is in my bio. We have the Patreon, the link is in my bio. And you can also book a reading with me. The link for that's also in my bio. Please don't DM me about booking a reading, just do it. Through the link on my bio. I love you. I will see you all later.